He was cold, powerful, and untouchable. She was paid to get close, then break his heart. But what happens when the one sent to destroy you becomes the only one who truly sees you? She thought it was just a job. He thought he'd never love again. Neither of them expected to fall. Stay with us. This story will break you before it heals you. Subscribe to the channel for stories that remind you love doesn't always arrive gently. It was just after midnight when Lena stood outside the hospital vending machine, counting her last few crumpled bills. Her younger brother lay unconscious in a ward upstairs. His surgery was scheduled, the cost impossible. The world wasn't fair, not to people like her. Then came the woman in red. Veronica Wolf. High heels, sharp eyes, no warmth in her smile. She didn't sit, she placed herself beside Lena like she owned the air. I hear you need money, fast. Lena froze. Who are you? Veronica slid a manila envelope across the metal bench between them. I'll pay you $100,000. You'll dine with him, laugh at his jokes, let him fall. Then you'll leave on a Thursday, no explanation. Lena opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside, photos of Adrian Cade, billionaire, tech empire, famously emotionless, and a check dated, signed, real. Why me? Lena whispered. Veronica's smile tightened. Because he trusts no one, and someone like you, he won't see you coming. Lena looked down at her brother's photo on her cracked phone screen, then at the check. Her heart thudded like a warning. But she said, where do I start? Veronica stood. You already have. And just like that, Lena's life turned into a lie wrapped in silk and heartbreak. But no one warned her what it would feel like to fall for the man she was sent to break. The invitation was handwritten. A charity gala, black tie, rooftop garden at the Armitage, a place where people like Lena didn't even clean, let alone enter. Veronica had already arranged everything. The gown, the shoes, the invitation, even the name Lena would use. You're not you tonight, she'd said coldly. You're his type, be that, nothing more. Inside the ballroom, Lena clutched her champagne glass like a lifeline. Her heart pounded. This wasn't her world. Everyone here smiled without kindness, laughed without reason, greeted each other like chess pieces, not people. And then she saw him. Adrian Cade, black suit, no tie, staring down from the rooftop balcony like he was above it all, like the sky might disappoint him too. He didn't speak. He didn't move. But every woman in the room noticed him, including her. Lena waited, timed it perfectly. She walked toward the balcony, let her heel accidentally catch the carpet near him, and dropped her phone with a thud. It cracked louder than it should have. I'm so sorry, she said quickly, crouching to pick it up, eyes lowered. Silence. Then a smooth voice, distant, cold. Is it broken? Lena looked up. Adrian hadn't moved, but he was watching her with eyes that looked through people, not at them. It already was, she said quietly, holding up her taped phone. Something in his expression flickered. Just for a second. He turned to leave, but paused. You don't belong here. Lena felt her stomach drop. Was it that obvious? But she forced a smile. Neither do you. That stopped him. He turned back, studied her, really studied her, as if trying to figure out whether to be amused or alarmed. Then, for the first time in 5 years, Adrian Cade smiled, just slightly, and walked away. Lena stayed frozen, gripping her broken phone and her rapidly breaking soul. Because in that moment, when their eyes met, she felt something real. And that wasn't part of the plan. Lena thought it would be harder. A man like Adrian Cade, powerful, private, and painfully guarded, should have been impossible to reach. But after their first meeting, something changed. He didn't seek her out, but he didn't push her away either. The next time she saw him, it wasn't in a ballroom. It was early morning, gray sky, nearly empty park. She'd memorized his schedule, thanks to Veronica's intel, but nothing prepared her for the sight of him, sitting on a bench, alone, feeding pigeons with a kind of quiet sadness. She hesitated. This wasn't an act anymore. This was a man aching to be left alone, and still hoping someone might see him. She walked slowly toward the bench, holding a cup of coffee. You again, he said without looking. You remember me, she smiled, offering the second cup. That's progress. He looked at it, then at her. You don't strike me as the type to drink your coffee cold. It's not for me, she said softly. It's for the man who feeds birds alone at 6 a.m. A beat of silence. He took it. They sat in silence for minutes. Pigeons fluttered, wind rustled the trees. Then suddenly, do you actually like birds? She asked. No, he replied, sipping. Then why come here every day? His eyes stayed on the gravel. They don't talk, they just take what they need and leave. Lena felt something tighten in her chest. She wanted to say, that sounds like the people in your past. But she said, maybe they stay because you feed them. He looked at her hard. Why are you really here? And in that moment, in the bite of his voice, the flicker in his eyes, she realized he didn't just suspect her. He feared her. Because I see you, she said quietly, even when you try to disappear. Adrian didn't reply. But the next morning, there were 2 cups waiting on the bench. And Lena knew. She wasn't just getting close. She was starting to fall. And that wasn't part of the job description. Veronica's message came sharp and cold. It's his birthday. Make him feel something, anything, then pull away. Lena stared at the screen, her chest tightening. She had memorized Adrian Cade's public profile. His achievements, his patents, his press coverage. But there was no record of birthdays. Not one party, not one cake. Only silence. She found him that evening, alone again. In his glass-walled penthouse, the city sparkled beneath them, like another world they didn't belong to. You're early, he said. Or maybe you're always late, she replied gently. He raised an eyebrow. For what? Lena stepped forward and held out a small, hand-stitched book, plain brown leather, tied with a ribbon. Happy birthday, Adrian. He froze, completely, not angry, not moved, just still. Who told you? No one had to, she whispered. You disappear the same time every year, like you're trying to erase it. He looked away. Silence fell between them, heavy, loud. Finally he spoke, voice low. My mother died on my birthday. Lena's breath caught. I was 12, he said. She made pancakes that morning, smiled, and then she collapsed in the hallway. I remember the syrup was still warm. His voice cracked just slightly. Since then, I don't celebrate. I build things, I close deals. I get rich, but I don't celebrate. Lena's eyes filled. She wanted to hold his hand, but didn't. Instead, she opened the little book. Inside were 12 pages, each one handwritten. 12 tiny memories she imagined for the boy who never got them. I know I can't give you back your mother, she whispered, but I made you 12 birthdays, for the 12 you lost. He didn't speak, just stared at her. Then slowly he sat down and turned the first page. Minutes passed, hours maybe. He read all 12, then looked up with wet eyes. Why would you do this? He asked. She smiled, voice trembling. Because you've given the world so much, Adrian, and no one ever thought to give back. He reached for her hand, held it like it might vanish, and Lena nearly broke right there. Because that moment was real, and real was never part of the plan. The birthday book stayed on Adrian's nightstand. He didn't speak about it, but Lena noticed every night. The ribbon was untied every morning. The pages were turned just slightly more worn. He was reading them, over and over. It became their rhythm, quiet moments. Soft smiles, unexpected laughter. Lena didn't need to play a role anymore. She was just herself. And somehow, that was the only part of the plan that worked too well. One night, rain tapped gently against the windows of his penthouse. They were sitting on the floor, 2 wine glasses half full. A record playing faintly in the background. Adrian had taken off his blazer, and Lena's shoes were kicked aside. What are you thinking? She asked. He looked at her, not like a billionaire surveying the world, but like a man searching someone's soul. That you're nothing like I expected. That I didn't know people like you still existed. Lena's throat tightened. What kind of person is that? The kind who listens. The kind who doesn't run when things get ugly. He paused, then said something barely audible. The kind who scares me. Her heart skipped. Why, she whispered. Because I don't want to lose you, and I don't even know if I ever had you. The silence that followed was fragile, like a thread pulled too tight. Lena stared at him, at this powerful man who had every reason to distrust her, and still let her in. She thought about Veronica, about the money already in her account, about the secret buried beneath every smile she'd shown him. And then, without thinking, she kissed him, not as part of a plan, not as a step in her mission, but as a woman falling apart in front of a man who finally saw her. Adrian didn't pull away. He held her like he'd been waiting his entire life for someone to mean it. There were no fireworks, no dramatic music, just warmth, stillness, and 2 hearts breaking and healing at the same time. When the kiss ended, she whispered, I'm sorry. For what? He asked. But she couldn't answer, because the guilt was already swallowing her whole. And she knew. The fall had already happened, and there might be no way back. The kiss didn't fix everything, but it broke something else, Adrian's silence. He started opening up in ways Lena never expected. He laughed more, walked slower, watched sunsets instead of markets. and whenever she entered the room, his face softened like she was home. One afternoon, Lena returned to the penthouse to grab a scarf she'd forgotten. Adrian wasn't expecting her. She wasn't supposed to be there. And that's how she heard it. He was on the phone talking to his driver, an older man named Joseph, the only person Adrian trusted. Lena stepped into the hallway just as his voice carried into the quiet. "She's different, Joseph." He sighed. "She doesn't care about the money. She listens. She remembers things no one else would, like my mother's favorite flower." Lena froze. Her heart pounded against her ribs. She wanted to run, but her feet wouldn't move. "I told myself I'd never feel again. I built walls around me for a reason. But with her, I forget I was ever broken." Silence. Then softly, "I think I'm falling in love with her." Lena covered her mouth. Her breath caught like glass in her throat. She didn't cry. She couldn't, because she was the lie, the storm in disguise, the woman he was paid to love, and she was paid to leave. That night, Lena lay awake in her tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling. She thought of his voice, his hands when they held hers, his eyes when they stopped being cold. And the guilt, it wasn't just guilt anymore. It was grief. Grief for the girl who had no right to be loved like that. And grief for the man who didn't deserve to be betrayed again. He checked her bank account. The money was there. Veronica had paid in full. But Lena was the one in debt now, and she didn't know how to repay it. Lena didn't sleep, not after what she heard. Adrian's words looped in her mind like a cruel lullaby. "I think I'm falling in love with her." And he meant it. Not as part of a game, not for control, but real, pure, unprepared. The kind of love that's built slowly and shatters instantly. The next morning, Lena met Veronica in a dim corner of a rooftop cafe. The kind where people whispered truths in pretty places. Veronica was already there, sunglasses on, swirling her espresso. "You did it," she said with a flat smile. "He's talking about you to everyone. It's time." Lena blinked. "Time to end it. No text, no goodbye, just disappear. He'll break again, and I'll have what I need." Lena's stomach turned. "What do you need, Veronica?" Veronica leaned forward. "Revenge." She slid a photo across the table of her sister years ago. Younger, happier. With Adrian. He left her without a word. She took her life 6 months later. He deserves to know how that feels. Lena stared at the photo, her fingers trembling. "So you used me to punish him." Veronica smiled. "Don't act surprised. You took the money, you knew the deal." Lena stood, her chair scraped loud across the concrete. "I didn't know him then." Veronica's voice turned icy. "You think you're in love with him. You think he'd forgive you when he finds out the truth." Lena didn't answer, because the truth wasn't simple anymore. She had betrayed him, but she had also fallen, fully. That night, Lena packed a small bag. No note, no goodbye. She left the apartment key beneath the mat, and the photo of Veronica's sister tucked inside Adrian's birthday book. She stared at her phone for hours, and then powered it off. The next morning, Adrian woke up alone. No message, no smile in the kitchen, no soft humming from the shower, just the silence he used to crave, now unbearable. And in that silence he saw it, the book. Opened, the photo tucked inside, and the truth began to unfold. Like a knife across his heart. The penthouse had never felt this loud. Not with sound, but with absence. Lena was gone. No scent of coffee in the kitchen. No soft laughter from the balcony. No humming while flipping through his books. Just an echo of what once felt like peace. He tried to call. Her phone was off. He sent texts. "Are you okay? Where did you go? Please just tell me if you're safe." Nothing. He paced for hours, trying to pretend it didn't matter. That maybe she just needed air. But something in her silence screamed louder than a goodbye ever could. Then he saw it. On his nightstand. The birthday book. Opened but with something added. A photograph. 2 young women smiling, one of them familiar. He turned it over. "Veronica and my sister, 2012. His blood ran cold. Veronica Wolf. A woman he once trusted with investments. A woman who suddenly vanished from every deal. A woman whose name he hadn't spoken in years. He didn't sleep. Didn't eat. Instead, Adrian Cade hired investigators, quietly, discreetly. Not to find Lena at first, but to find the reason. Why did she leave? Why now? And why did her goodbye look like a warning? 3 days later, the truth arrived, wrapped in a manila envelope on his desk. Inside, emails, wire transfers, surveillance screenshots, and a contract signed by Veronica Wolf, hiring Lena Morno to destroy him. Adrian sat still for a long time. Betrayal wasn't new to him. But this cut differently, because he had let her in. He had told her things he never told anyone, held her hand through memories that still bruised him. And she had been sent to ruin him. He wanted to scream, to rage, to close off the world again. But then he remembered her face, the way it looked when she listened, the way she touched the birthday book like. It mattered the way she kissed him, as if it had never been a job. Why did she leave the photo? He whispered to himself. And suddenly his anger cracked. Because maybe, just maybe, she had fallen too. And if that was true, he wasn't done yet. The annual Winter Philanthropy Gala sparkled with crystal chandeliers and champagne flutes. A parade of millionaires and media swirled around the room. But one face made every camera flash freeze. Adrian Cade. He hadn't made a public appearance in weeks. Rumors buzzed, heartbreak, health issues, business collapse. But Adrian was calm, composed, deadly. And when he saw Veronica Woolf standing at the top of the marble stairs, flanked by socialites and smirking investors, he walked straight toward her. "Adrian," she said coolly, "didn't think you'd show." He didn't smile. "I wasn't planning to," he replied, "until I remembered I owe you a public response." She stiffened slightly. To what? To being stabbed in the back. The microphone at the podium crackled to life as Adrian stepped forward, eyes scanning the stunned crowd. "Some of you know Veronica Woolf as a philanthropist, a businesswoman. I knew her as a partner and the sister of someone I loved once, until she paid someone to break me." Gasps. Yes, paid. She found someone kind, gentle, struggling, and turned her into a weapon. Veronica's face twisted. "Don't you dare blame this on me." "I'm not blaming you," Adrian interrupted, eyes burning. "I'm thanking you." Silence fell. "Because the woman you used, she didn't destroy me. She showed me what love feels like, even when it's born in betrayal." He turned to the crowd, his voice trembling now. "For years, I trusted no one. I thought power meant being untouchable, cold. But she broke through that." He looked straight at the cameras. "So go ahead, print your headlines. Say Adrian Cade was fooled by love. But also say he forgave it." Veronica stormed out. And Adrian. He walked off the stage and into the unknown. Because love, he now knew, wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing to believe again, even when it hurts. It had been 6 months since Lena disappeared. She'd gone back to working small jobs, keeping her head low. She didn't read the news. She didn't check his social media. She couldn't, but she kept the book he gave her. The one she once tried to give him, folded and hidden in her backpack. Sometimes, when no one was watching, she'd open it and remember. She worked at a quiet bookstore now, tucked into a side street that barely got sunlight. It was a Tuesday, cold outside, the kind of day no one came in. The bell above the door jingled. Lena looked up from the register and dropped the pen in her hand. Adrian Cade stood in the doorway. No bodyguards, no cameras. Just him holding a coffee in one hand and the birthday book in the other. He looked older somehow, not tired, just real. He walked up slowly. Lena didn't speak, she couldn't. He set the coffee down in front of her. No words. Then he opened the book, revealing a new page she had never written. Handwritten in his neat block lettering. "You were never the lie." Her lips trembled. "I didn't mean to fall for you," she whispered. "You weren't supposed to," he said. Silence. Then softly, "But you did." He reached across the counter, just enough to touch her hand. "Come home," he said gently. "If it's still your heart I've got left to break. Let me spend the rest of my life trying not to." She stepped out from behind the counter, and for the first time in a long time, she walked toward something, not away. They embraced, not like a perfect couple, but like two people who had earned each other, painfully, truthfully. Sometimes love begins with a lie, but survives because of the truth. If this story moved you, tap subscribe to Hearts and Billions for more emotional journeys that prove. Even the most broken hearts can still find their way back to love. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.